So welcome, Tracey families, to our 2020-2021 school year. We are excited to have our kids back, to be honest with you, and really just overjoyed at the possibilities of discovering new things, even as we are dealing with the challenge of having to do things in a different way. But we're Tracey Cubs, and we always find a way to make things happen. So again, welcome, and we're going to get started. Just a quick review of our agenda. We're going to start with a welcome and an introduction. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tracey Rangel, and I am your principal. And Mrs. Montero is with me as well.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
And so we're going to go through, as you can see, a little bit of everything, just kind of getting us ready for the school year. So I want to just let everyone know that our purpose for having this meeting and for giving this information is twofold. Number one, we want you to know that your child's safety and health is of utmost importance to us. We've been working really hard all summer long to have everything all set and ready for your students, as well as to kind of think outside of the box and think of things that, what else could happen, or where else could we go, or what could we do differently that would make this better. So it has been a summer of changes. Every time you think you have a plan, something changes and it's different. But we have been working, really hard to make sure that we're ready for your child. The second purpose is just practicalities. You need to know some of the logistics, our time changes, things like that. So we want to make sure that we can give you this information. And at the end, we hope that you have a really good sense of, what your child's going to be doing during the day, whether they are in person or virtual, as well as all the safety precautions that we have put in place to help make that happen. So we'll dive in.
So I'm going to begin by talking tonight about some of the things that we have put in place to ensure the health and safety and well-being of all our Cubs. So Mrs. Rangel has put a lot of the bullet points on the screen, but if you have any questions, we have a team of people here that are taking them as we move along. So be sure to write them down either in the Q&A or the chat. It's important to know that we just got done with summer school, in building summer school with great success here at Tracey. And some of the things that I'll be sharing, we already have put into practice with some of our students. So as students arrive, they will be expected and encouraged and taught that hands will be washed every day as they enter the classroom. Each room is now equipped with hand sanitizing stations as they enter. So every classroom here at Tracey and every area where the children will be stationed has hand sanitizers. They will be expected and seated 6 feet away from peers. High touch points will be disinfected throughout the school day, and bathrooms will be disinfected twice during the school day. And of course, deep cleaning will happen each evening. Every student, we've already packed and labeled a container of school supplies. So we'll go over at the end of this presentation what they actually have to bring to school, but school supplies are not some of the things they need, because we have already got them and packaged them. So they will all have their individual school supplies. Let me think. Oh, and I'm sorry, the tech devices. So every K through 5 student will have either a Chromebook or laptop assigned to them. HEPA filters are being installed in every classroom. And health screenings, we'll get a little bit more into that, but health screenings will be actually handed in daily. So we will get those to you in hard copy form for the first day of school. We will be mailing them home to you with class assignment letters, and just have them filled out so your child can bring them in when they enter on day one. We'll be sure to have additional hard copies sent home as the weeks progress. I don't want to miss any questions, but I do see something in the Q&A. Okay. Responding to a potential case. Here's a what if scenario. So we here at Tracey have an isolation room already established in addition to the nurse's office. So if a child or staff is symptomatic, they will be isolated in an isolation room. We will quarantine depending on the situation. So depending on the situation of what happens after that child is picked up and checked out by a doctor, the quarantine or how long the quarantine would be determined based on the situation. So when the child can return to school based on what happens after they see a doctor.
As well as if there's anyone else who needs to worry about quarantining. So this is, I know we have a lot of kindergarten parents joining us, and this is a really important slide for you. Medical physicals. In order for your children to participate in school at all in any way, shape, or form, be it face-to-face or virtual, you must have a current physical. This is a bit of a change in essence that we know that when we went out on COVID, a lot of doctors' offices were closed and they delayed lots of the physicals, but the State Department has been pretty clear that we must have a physical in order for them to enter into the school. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to run out and go get a physical. Particularly speaking, if you are new to Newark Public Schools, we must have a physical, hard copy of the physical within the building. And if you're an entering kindergarten student, we must have a copy of that physical. So there are resources available. If you have any questions regarding that or any concerns or having a hard time, please contact the school. We do have information that we can give you, places that you can go that can kind of help connect you to getting those, getting that form filled out and getting those resources to the school, because that is essential in order for you to be able to attend school both physically and virtually. So
quite different to Tracey.
Yeah.
There will be no visitors permitted into the building this year. And we have done lots of service learning and partnership throughout the community over the last couple of years. They've been wonderful enough and been in contact with us and our staff to agree to continue their partnership, but we will be doing that virtually.
This slide about visitors also includes parents coming into the building. As we have said, we are working really hard to make sure that we continue to keep a safe place for your students. And that includes being able to control our environment and make sure that we've done our due diligence. There will be no visitors, including parents, allowed into the building during school. And I know that, again, we've been working really hard to get parents to come into the building, but obviously in the middle of a pandemic, that's just not the right thing to do. And no matter what, we want to make sure that we're keeping your students safe and healthy. Masks. If I get any questions at all, I get a lot of questions about masks. So masks must be worn by all students and adults in the building and on the bus. This is unless a mask exemption has been granted. So, I mean, that's really as cut and dry as we can get it. I had one of our lovely parents and / staff members, Mrs. Penta, created a wonderful mask video. So in case you did not see it, we're gonna play it here. It's a great tool to use with your students just to kind of remind them about mask expectations, and also a reminder for you parents to make sure that you are practicing and you're allowing your child to practice. So I'm gonna play this video for you.
Hey Tracey family, as we get started on what is sure to be an interesting new school year, we want to be sure that you have some of the basics covered. Masks are one of the many recommendations from city and state officials to keep us safe during COVID-19. Masks not only keep yourself safe, but they keep your fellow cubs safe as well. At Tracey, we are a community that learns, grows, and problem solves together. When your student comes into school, we will be welcoming them with air hugs and our new norm, masks. But we will do this together. Please have your cub come into school with their mask on and have it fitted as best as possible, covering their nose and mouth. As we are problem solvers, take responsibility for our actions, and show respect for others, we know that although new and sometimes difficult, mask wearing at Tracey can be done and done well. In that spirit, here are some cub mask tips. Remember, we are in this together. Practice wearing the mask at home doing school-like tasks. Start at 20 minutes per day and work up to about an hour and a half. There will be built-in mask breaks, and students can ask for a break if needed. Have your student practice tasks like reading, writing, and even working on a tablet. The idea is to get used to the mask while doing different things. Also, be sure your cub chats with you while their mask is on. Another way to have your student get used to the mask is to have them play while wearing it. Practice, practice, practice. Now for some mask don'ts. Don't touch the front of your mask with your hands. Don't take it off by pulling the front of it. Do not take your mask off in the bathroom. Do not wear your mask down around your nose and chin. And now for some mask do's. Take your mask on and off by the ear straps. Wear your mask over your chin and nose for full protection. Mask breaks will be offered and students can ask for one as well. Leave your mask on in the bathroom. Place your mask face up when you take it off. That means the side that was up against your face. Again, there will be mask breaks and students will take them off safely for eating and drinking. Remember, practice wearing your mask as they are required in school for most of the day. Practice taking it on and off correctly and do not touch the mask or your face. Cubs, we got this and we will see you soon. Oh yeah, there is one more thing. Don't forget to keep washing your hands. See you soon.
There's going to be several mask breaks that will take place throughout the school day, and during the mask break, students will be social distanced. Students can also, if they feel like they need a mask break before a scheduled time for mask break, they can also ask for a mask break. There will be covered locations outside, so we can make sure that students have a space to take a mask break, even if it's raining, just so we can ensure parents and students that they will be able to have those mask breaks as needed. Masks are worn on the bus stops and during the ride to school, to and from school. For transportation, the buses are going to be loaded from the back, the rear of the bus to the front. So each student has an assigned seat, and when they arrive to school, they're going to be unloaded from the front of the bus. So that way, it's been organized, which is why if you should happen to be a parent who has decided to do remote learning and then you would like to change back into present learning, it takes some time because when that happens, we have to reroute the buses and we have to make sure that we've taken care of the new seating arrangements. So the district is asking for a minimum of 2 weeks before you'll be able to change your selection to come back into school physically.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our Jefferson Overflow, and it's 3 out of our 4 fifth grade sections. 3 out of 4 of them will be placed at Jefferson. It was determined that we would need additional space to keep our population at 50% density. Please be reassured that it is our staff that is going over there with them to Jefferson. Their 5th grade teachers that were assigned will be their teachers over in the Jefferson building. So if there's a sibling pair or more than a pair, a family that has a 5th grader, in addition to other students at Tracey, there is a cohort that stays at Tracey. Most of our families that are moving over to Jefferson received phone calls today from our office staff. So if you did not and you have a 5th grader and other children in the school, please assume that your student will be housed at Tracey. There will be a town hall meeting, and I see some chats about this question. There's a lot of questions in the chat about the town hall meeting. There will be a town hall meeting for our 5th graders who will be housed at Jefferson tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. So that link will be sent out to you. So I know that there was a question about, do you have to call Jefferson for that link? You do not. We will be providing that link to you. And then tomorrow you will be talking about the logistics of arrival and dismissal and how it will be operating over at Jefferson with the team of, there'll be a team of principals and the CISD over at Jefferson School.
I also want to, again, reassure you that it is our staff who's there, as well as our specialists who will cycle there as well. So again, it's still Tracey as far as I'm concerned, just housed someplace else.
Mrs. Rangel and I will be there on rotation as well.
So anytime you see this slide, it's a Mrs. Rangel begging and pleading for understanding. So we're gonna start talking about some murky territory for us at Tracey, which is traffic at Tracey. So we have arrival and dismissal. We're going to talk about arrival, but the one thing I want to say is, under normal circumstances, under the best of circumstances, Camp Street is overcrowded when it comes to drop off and pick up time. We usually have where parents can drop off early. The kids are all housed in one section, and then they can move down to their class. As you know, CDC guidelines, we're looking for groups of no more than 25 students gathered at any point ever within the building. So we have to change to accommodate for that, which means that we're going to have people trying to drop off, and it's going to slow our process. Another thing that is going to surely slow our process is everybody walking in with their screening forms and handing off your screening forms. If you were here in the summer for summer school, you know that actually did extremely well with it. Summer school went really well, but it was a microcosm of our school and not our full body of students in place. This is our arrival plan. We have kindergarten students entering in at the kindergarten doors. They will be clearly marked for drop off. They're going to start a little bit earlier, as well as people who stay in your car to drive in to drop off your student, and there will be staff outside to help students disembark. They'll go in, do the gym side entrance, head to their class with staff keeping an eye. Our bussers, as soon as they arrive to school, will enter the building as well. Walkers and parent drop-off will come to that side entrance that we typically use for the school in order to get in, and we'll start that a little bit later just to try to alleviate some of the congestion that we're going to have. But again, I remind you that everything that we do at Tracey, the first and foremost, it centers around safety. And if we're not being safe when we're driving and when we're waiting to drop off our students, then there's always the chance that somebody can get hurt. When we want to make sure that you're safe, that your child is safe. I want to make sure that my staff is safe. So please, 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 I'm just putting it out there that we know that the traffic is going to be an issue. We are looking with the district for ways to alleviate some of this, and the Department of Transportation as well as City Hall, they're looking. They know this is an issue. They're looking for how to support and help us with this. But I am going to need to ask parents to just please be patient. Either leave early so that you have time if you have time, or come a little bit later once you know things are dying down. We're going to have to work together to make this work and still remain true to our Tracey print. Okay. So we have a video for you, just kind of getting you started with our school days and what that is going to look like.
Welcome back, Tracey families. We've missed you and have spent the whole summer getting ready for your return. Be that return in person or virtual. We are ready for a successful year of learning. We know that making the decision to attend in person or virtually was a hard one, and we want you to know that whatever your choice, we're here to support you and your family. Let's take a look at the day in the life of a Tracey Cub. Students attending school in person will be socially distanced and wearing a mask at all times, with the exception of snack, lunch, and mask breaks. For the most part, your Cubs will stay in their class. Teachers will first teach lessons to students who are learning virtually, while students in class do independent work. Teachers will then teach the same lessons to students in class, while students at home work independently. Students at home will be able to join the class virtually with the use of technology. Teachers will be teaching lessons on the computer, and the students will then have an opportunity to do some independent work related to the lesson. They'll rejoin their teacher, and the teacher can check in with their progress before moving on to the next lesson. Recess at school will happen at the same time that children have recess at home. Then, when all is said and done, it's back to work. Whether your child is learning at home or in school, students will be using technology to support their learning under the watchful eye of their teacher. This will certainly be a challenge, but at Tracey, we use our print to problem solve, persevere, be respectful, have integrity, be neighborly, and take responsibility. We can do this because we are Tracey. We got this.
We definitely are going to be able to make this happen. Mrs. Montero is going to walk us through a day in the life of Malik for just a little bit of a closer look.
So I'm going to take over from here, and I'm going to walk you through a quick overview, and give or take, this is just a sample of what our scheduled day will look like here at school. So if Malik is a 4th grade in-person student at Tracey and he takes the bus, depending on his bus stop, Malik will arrive at the bus stop in Mass anywhere between 5 of and 8:25 in the morning. When he gets here, Malik will come into the building, and again, we will have staff present. He will come in through the front doors. He will arrive at 8:35 our opening, wash his hands, get his breakfast, and he will be in his homeroom. He'll sit in class, eat breakfast, and get started on his morning work. Morning classes will typically begin at 8:55, and they will be throughout the morning. We would have, depending on the individual classroom schedule, literacy, math, science activities happening within his classroom. Lunch and recess will happen, hopefully back to back, and it is 20 minutes or so for lunch in the classroom and a half an hour for recess. Malik will have recess for his half an hour, and then his afternoon classes will begin. Again, anywhere literacy, math, science, social studies, SEL, and our specials will be included. And again, it's individual classes have individual schedules, but a 40-minute special will be included within this day. At 3:10, 3:15, Malik will be dismissed from Tracey, and we'll go over dismissal and a little bit further down in our presentation, because it will be different dismissal time than we're used to. We have a 15-minute earlier dismissal, and we're going to stagger some of that as best we can.
So before I jump into Vanessa's virtual day, I want to answer some of the questions that were in the Q&A. So there were some questions about procedures for going from, if you were in school, decide to go into virtual learning. If you were in school and decide to switch to go to virtual learning, there's a process that you need to notify the school. So you would contact either myself, Mrs. Espinosa, Mrs. Montero, principal, assistant principal, or secretary, and just give us something in writing saying that you would like to switch your child from in-person learning to virtual learning. And that transition can happen relatively fast. We'll have to let you know specifically, the start date, but it really should happen pretty fast. All of our students will be using technology, as I said in the video, so it should be a faster transition. If you are a person who has chosen virtual learning and you'd like to change and come back to in-school, so you would notify the school, and it will take about up to 2 weeks for us to give you a date for that to happen. So it won't be as the quick, I called today, my child comes in tomorrow, because as I explained earlier, there are a lot of connecting dots to that. There are lots of other things that are impacted between, bus scheduling, making sure that we're still at capacity within the room. And again, you're always welcome to obviously come back to us, but it does take a little bit more time. So just want to hopefully clear that up. And both of those, again, would require you just reaching out and contacting myself, Mrs. Montero, or Mrs. Espinosa. So I'm going to walk you a little bit through Vanessa's virtual day. If you notice, Vanessa's virtual day actually really talks a lot about Vanessa's mom, because as a parent in elementary school, our students are the oldest they're going to get is about 10, 11 years old. So an adult is always kind of responsible for kind of getting them up and going. So tag, you're it, right? So Vanessa's mom, wake her up, make sure she's ready for the day. She's gonna make sure she has a good breakfast and can hit the ground running. Depending on the age of your child now, for many of our students, the logging in and getting online does not require any assistance. They're good to go. But some students might need some support with that. Vanessa logs in, she's greeted by her teacher, and then she gets started with her first morning activity. So the way we envision it at Tracey, it would be the teachers, in-person teachers would be starting with having lessons with their virtual students first to kind of get them settled. And then the students who are at home would then transition into an independent practice, which is really what we do at school anyway. We have a mini lesson and then students transition to practicing the lesson that they've been taught. They work on that, and then afterwards there's a closure where they come back, they meet with the teacher. So there's gonna be this cycle of your child being the teacher being in front of them, having a lesson, the child being given a task, them doing that task, coming back in, checking in with the teacher, and the teacher will be checking in. Vanessa's mom, moving to step 4, Vanessa's mom, drops in while her daughter has a one-to-one check-in with the teacher while they're video conferencing. Vanessa has lunch and recess, and if you think of Vanessa's lunch and recess from basically the block of 11:30 to 12:30, it's the same as Malik's lunch between 11:30 and 12:30. So she's gonna have recess, lunch, then recess, or if you're home, recess, then lunch, doesn't matter, it's about an hour, and then she's gonna pop back on to join her classmates for the rest of the afternoon. At the end of the day, Vanessa logs off and she enjoys her afternoon. There's no need for after school care or anything. She's already home. There's also, I think, a really important piece here is step 6. If anything goes wrong, Vanessa's mom can call. There will be assistance available for parents if they're having some trouble with technology, not just the teacher who's in the classroom, but if there's something else going on, there's also going to be help from our IT department to help provide some service with that as well.
There was a question about specials, and we're going to go into that next. But yes, if your child has chosen remote, they will be included in the special of whatever the classroom cohort is doing as well.
Yes. Speaking of specials.
Here's our specials. So we had additional specialists this year, including our coaching staff. And as you can see, we have art, music, and gym, which is our typical specials. We have one additional special, but it's separated into a K2 and 3-5. It's a communications special, but it's really talking about how we the skills of good listening and communicating. So it's a thorough course that the students will participate in. We have a teacher for K2 and a teacher also for 3-5. Pre-COVID, our vision was this would be housed in the media center and pushed into residencies throughout the grade levels. And now during COVID, we have incorporated that special. We also have Mrs. Penta with our character ed theme, reinforcing print, and for our younger cubs, really explaining what that is and what that means. And then we also have Farm to School with Miss Hadley. She was a part of us last year. She is full-time with us this year. Our STEM coach, Mr. Cincerbo, and Writing Lab, our literacy coach, Miss Esposito. So those are our specialists this year that will be housed in residencies K-5. And what I mean by residencies is every day there will be a 40-minute special that your child will be participating in. And the teacher will be housed for 3 weeks in each of these, what we call residencies. So they're not mixing in between grade levels. Typically our specialists see one class per grade level every day, and then it changes some on a 3-day cycle. That won't be because we're trying to keep our cohorts small, and the reason for residencies is really to provide less contact with many children, many students. I hope I explained that correctly. That's our reasoning behind that. So yes, if your child is virtual, they will be participating in whatever resident specialist is with your cohort for 3 weeks.
So we had a bit of a kind of a feel for this as we closed out last school year, where you had, Mr. Ramirez, students were doing body percussion, students were, clapping along to rhythms. So again, it is absolutely going to look a little differently. It's just a sign of our times, right? Another piece about the communications class that I want to mention is that this is also a core part of our character education program. So it's students learning to communicate and to express themselves, and it's really centered around our core values of print. And so we were excited. Other magnet schools have, they're learning different languages. We looked at this and thought the best thing that we can actually do for our children is to help learn to communicate effectively in many different ways, using technology, feeling comfortable with presentations. So my hope is that by the time the year ends, our 3 to 5 students would be able to, for example, give this webinar for you without skipping a beat. We have high hopes and we're excited about what's heading their way. Every child's favorite part of the day, right? So recess, we will be having recess daily. We will also be having a socially distanced recess. And by that I mean that we have divided our grounds into different areas where there'll be different activities where students can take part in those activities but maintain distancing. The other thing that I think I want to say is a huge thank you to our PTA and volunteers for coming out and just painting these wonderful stencils for us. It's amazing, looks great, and I know that the kids are going to absolutely love it, and it becomes one of our
Fit and fun
stations. Yeah, one of our fit and fun stations for outdoor recess. So thank you again. That's wonderful.
Okay. I'm going to talk about in-school dining. Before I do, I wanted to go back about the specialist, because I see a question on here and they're asking about art room and music room, and our specialist will be pushing into their classroom, so the children will not be transitioning. Okay. So in-school dining is again 100% free for 100% of our school population. It will be provided in prepackaged sealed meals, and it would be delivered to the classroom daily, as well as breakfast. Same thing for breakfast. So breakfast and lunch, again, will be provided for all. Now, if a student chooses to bring in lunch, that is absolutely fine. They may bring in lunch still, but you need to know that in-school dining is available and will be provided breakfast and lunch for all students here at Tracey.
My favorite thing, guys, family numbers. So this year, we changing our practice a slight bit. What we're going to do is every single family is going to be assigned a family number. That is whether you are in person or choosing to be virtual, because in the event that you are virtual and decide to come back in, we want to make sure that we have everything in place. What this means is, if you're new to Tracey, is let's say you have 3 kids, a student in 4th grade, kindergarten, and maybe 2nd grade. All of your students, when we call your family number, all of your children come together. There's no like waiting for one and then having to wait for the other. We call them as a family. They have a family number. They come down as a family, and they're dismissed this way. It helps us to ensure that everyone's accounted for, but also, of course, that it speeds things up for us. So what you will be receiving is you'll be receiving 2 clings for your car with your family number, and it will have our school logo and your family number. You're going to receive 2 of those. They're 5x7. If you could be kind enough to place them in your front windshield. And then you're also receiving 1 lanyard in case you are coming to pick up your child. It's how we verify that you are one of our Tracey family members, and every year we do it a little bit differently so that we can ensure that there's safety and that you are who you say you are, right? Those things we will be sending home initially as we start the school year. You'll probably get a paper copy that you can tape up until we have our clings, and then other than that, then we'll either mail them home or send them home in book bags for students so that you can have them and have them ready for us, hopefully for the first day of school. On that note, we're back. Dismissal. Again, I can't say this enough because I love your children. We just need to be really patient, really careful, really be showing all the qualities of print that we teach our kids, because you as their parents are their best teachers. So I really need our parents to monitor their behavior during dismissal. Be patient, be kind. We promise you'll all get your children. We'll send them home, but we really just want everyone to be safe as we deal with our traffic congestion, to be honest with you. So please, please, please. So on that note, we'll talk about dismissal. So kindergarten students, again, will be dismissed from their kindergarten doors. And again, we're staggering this slightly. Our walkers, which are students typically grades 3 through 5, whose parents just want them to get out of school and walk home, those students are going to also be dismissed at 3:05. Parent pickup, if you are coming it's where we typically do our parent pickup, we're going to start that at 3:10. In-car pickup, you're going to stay in your vehicle, drive in, we call your children down, they literally get escorted into your car. We'll start that at 3:10 as well. And then bus riders will leave as soon as buses show up to pick them up. So I want to pause for a moment and talk to you a little bit. I know Carla mentioned this earlier, but I want to reiterate that we have changed our time for our dismissal to be approximately 15 minutes earlier. And that time is actually intended so that we put it on the front end of our week, so that we can actually have staff development. This work and this new way of doing things is going to require that our teachers have additional time so that they can plan and work together the ways that we've always done typically during the school day, but because we are staggering everything. So just to give you an example, so if your child is in kindergarten and their special for the 3-week residency is art, that means the art teacher is going to cycle through every single one of the kindergarten classrooms, which means the teachers are not free to have meeting time and planning time at the same time. So this is just an important piece of how we make the magic happen, Tracey. And so I'm just want to make sure that I reiterate that's 15 minutes earlier than we typically got out, and 20 minutes earlier for our K students and walkers, so we can try to stagger and get out some of that congestion.
Before we go, can you go back to that one screen, Mrs.
Yeah,
Just 2 additional notes. This is going to look different in-house in our building than it has even for our students, because our students will not be housed in the gym with staff members by their assigned numbers. They will be staying in their classrooms, and we will be calling the numbers as they get walkie-talkied into us through the speaker system. So no more housed in the gym. And for K rooms, we're asking the parents to pick up at the K classroom doors for those of you who are walking or car riding. So K students will not be released until we release them to you.
Thank you for that. Okay.
And then I'm going to just mention about we still do have the before and after school program, and with After the Bell, which is a Carver centered program. It will service all of our K through 5 students if you so choose. Our hours of operation are 7 to 8:35, and then at the end of the school day, they'll be released at 3:10, and they close at 6 o'clock. That's application. You can find that on the Norwalk Public School website for those of you who are new to After the Bell and want the before or after or both programs. That's an application process. We are lucky enough for the past 2, this will be our 3rd year, partnering with our 5th grade Carver program, which is a free after school transitional program for all our 5th graders. And it is our understanding that we will have one here at Tracey, and then it will be offered at Jefferson as well.
Yeah, that was a 5-year grant that we are super fortunate to have. Program, I do want to just mention that it's 4 days a week. It's Monday to Thursday, but it is absolutely free to 5th grade parents and students, and 3:10 through 6 p.m. They typically have a lot of enrichment opportunities where people will come in. As we've said, there are no visitors, so all the enrichment opportunities will still be offered, but they will be offered virtually.
So one of the questions is it free for the entire year? Yes, this isn't anything to do with COVID. It's been a part of us here at Tracey, again, going in its third year for all fifth graders.
So coming soon, we have the Jefferson Town Hall for our fifth grade parents. I will be sending out a link to that shortly. And then we have a kindergarten virtual orientation where you get to meet your kindergarten team. That's going to be next week. So next Tuesday at 5:30. You'll get to meet and greet some of our kindergarten staff and share it and just kind of getting a better feel for kindergarten this school year.
And our class placement letters will be mailed on Monday, August 24th. So please expect them at the beginning of next week.
Typically speaking, we have class placements. They usually go out a little bit earlier. Actually, they would have went out probably on Friday and you would have received them. But obviously, as we are navigating parent selection of virtual or in person and waiting for those things, it's been a little bit delayed. So that will go home on Monday, August 24th with your specific class assignment, as well as some copies of the screener that you're going to need to fill in just to kind of get you started. Though I believe we will be continuing to provide those as well while they're in paper version. All right, so is this you, Carlin?
Sure, I'll take this. So typically we have class supply lists and they come in with the letter, the welcoming letter from your teacher. And as I stated earlier, you need very little this year to bring in, students need very little to bring in on their own. But what you can bring in and what we encourage you to bring in are backpacks. We learned in summer school that it was easier to carry back and forth those that needed to bring devices back and forth or homework folders back and forth. Backpacks would help. Water bottles, we've had an additional 4 refill stations put in this summer. So water bottles that can be refilled. Again, your choice, but we encourage that. Lunch, if a child desires to bring their own lunch, that is still allowed. And of course, we will have a snack break throughout the day in one of their mass breaks. So we encourage you to bring that if that's something you'd like to participate in.
So I do have to say, when it comes to lunch and snack, you may be contacted by your child's teacher with some restrictions on different foods if we have a child in the classroom with some allergies. So please just be aware that, again, some common ones are peanut allergies, nut allergies, things of that nature. So if you are in a nut-free classroom, you will be notified. Those things would be prohibited from that classroom specifically because obviously, primarily speaking, we want to make sure that all of our students remain safe. Okay, that is pretty much it. We have questions and answers, and I know that our team has told me that there's lots of specific questions regarding dismissal. So maybe, Mrs. Montero, I don't know if we want to go through
The questions?
Yeah, some dismissal questions. If I can pull them up and I can see them. I don't know that I can.
I know some of our coaches were answering as we were going through. So
Let's take a look.
here's our open one.
So I see we have, is it free for the year? Yes.
That's the Carver program. It is.
Um,
What is the fifth grade transition program? It's an extension of the school day for fifth grade. And they typically focus on getting them ready for middle school, organizational skills, independent skills, as well as, again, there's a homework helper hour.
Yeah. It really is, it's all those essential skills that will help them, as well as kind of gearing them up for things that they know that kids would struggle with once they get to middle school. So it's kind of a freebie for trying to help get them a jump start. Overheated, wearing a mask, can they remove the mask at recess or during gym activities? So the answer to that is yes, but it must be social distance. So what we're going to work really hard on, and what we'd like your support with, is just making sure that students know that if they need a mask break, they just need to let an adult know, so that we can ensure that they are the 6 feet, away from other people so they can have a break. We expect that to be the case. Let's see. Kids are learning. So the Chromebooks will be, you will be contacted. I believe they're going out, I believe sometime next week, if you are doing distance learning. So if you're in a K through 2, it's really a Chromebook that turns into a tablet, a touch tablet. And those you'll be contacted. We had staff in today, amazing staff who are helping us get that up and running for you. So we're going to, once we're kind of taking off part of the work so that when you pick them up, you don't have to do the syncing that typically has to happen. We're going to do that for you. So by next week, you should be contacted for picking up your device if you are choosing to be virtual. It keeps jumping. If you want to switch your decision between distance learning to in-person or vice versa before school starts, what's the cutoff date for that decision? That is an excellent question that I absolutely do not have the answer to. So what I will do is, if I can have one of my moderators out there, if you can flag that question, I will we'll put out a Q&A with things that I don't know and have to get back to you, so that I can provide that, and I'll send it out in a Tracey print talk, and just kind of say, okay, these are some questions that were asked that I didn't have answers to, just so that you have them. Will teachers do welcome Zoom before school starts with their incoming class to virtually meet them, as well as to parents for the first day to see who they are and check out the classroom? That is a wonderful idea. I know that kindergarten is absolutely doing that. And time allowed, I think that's a perfect idea for transitioning in our students, especially. I know that Mrs. Penta's working on a video that kind of shows students, because the other thing about, we'd like to actually meet them virtually first, because then they can actually see your full face, right? You want them to know who you are and be able to recognize you. So I think that's a wonderful idea that I know we've been playing around, especially with kindergarten, but I think that's a wonderful idea for whole school, to be honest with you. So that's a great suggestion, and I'm gonna say yes to that. We're gonna make it happen.
I'm hoping one of the coaches answered it, but there was a question about, will the Remind app still be used? If it's not a Remind app, it will be something very similar that the teacher is comfortable with. But we've had great success with that even before COVID happened. So we will continue to use that as a means for teacher and parent open communication.
I believe that there's Seesaw being used for students K through 2. After watching MPS Town Hall, will the teacher be switching between rooms to keep kids? So that's actually a good question, and one that we did not cover. I don't know how we missed that one. Students who, it depends on the class size, and actually really it's the room size that the students are in. So some of our rooms are large enough where the students who are in person, we can keep the 6 feet, and they don't need to share space. For rooms where there are, and where there is a need in order to provide the 6 feet of space, we need to have 2 spaces. So for those rooms, the teacher will be in one classroom, there will be a paraeducator in the other classroom, and they will swap. So when students are doing independent practice, then the para will swap and the teacher will do direct instruction in the second classroom. So thank you for mentioning that, because to be honest with you, I believe we may have only one section of that in each grade level.
As of right now,
as of right now. So thank you for that question. Do we have any other questions? We got 6 minutes before the middle school gets to steal you guys away in case they have any questions for you. I'm trying to see if there's any messages.
I don't see any.
PTA would be reaching out to them. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at, PTA will be reaching out soon to Tracey. Community, some people have texted me while you're presenting. Okay, yep, PTA is gonna be reaching out to you. The login for Westrocks, I don't have, but what I can do is perhaps I can, if you email me, I will try to get a hold of Westrock so I can provide you with the Westrocks login information. I don't have that on site, I'm sorry. 5th grade transitioning program. There's going to be they will send home like paperwork for you to fill out, and you just fill out the paperwork, and as long as they have permission, then you will start. There is no set start date at this moment. They're working on that, but hopefully before school starts, we will have the date for the 5th grade transitioning program. Jefferson should receive an email regarding the meeting. Because it's a joint meeting and it's not one that I create, I will seek to get a meeting, get that information from Ms. Robinson, who is the site director at Jefferson, so that we all have the same link. Otherwise, if I send you one, it'll just be us again.
There was one, how many kids are in a class, and it's depending on the grade level. There's no more than 22 in K2, and there's no more than 24 in 3-5. And some classes are up to those numbers, but again, if they are, and we could balance it by half of them as remote and half of them are here, they're in one cohort here and one cohort remote. It depends. It really depends on the individual classrooms, but there's no more than 22 K2 and no more than 24 in 3-5. And Tracey, we're blessed enough that we're such an awesome place that we're full. We're filled.
Yes. So new to the district, when your child get their Chromebook. So if you're new to the district, or if your child is in K through 2 and they haven't received a Chromebook or a device, they'll get that device on the very first day of school. So it'll literally be waiting for them on their desk, brand new and ready for them. And we anticipate our first few weeks, right, are really just getting kids acclimated to using the technology and being as self-dependent as they possibly can with doing what they need to do. What if we need after school on day 1? So that actually should be in place. Typically speaking, after the bell has their application, it should already be online, and they'll take registrations, and it would start on day 1. It's always started on day 1 for after the bell. Now, if it's the 5th grade program, then there's a delay for that. You'd have to sign up for after the bell. Then once the 5th grade program starts, they typically release them to that. But again, remember, the 5th grade program is only 4 days a week instead of the 5 days a week. 1st grade classrooms have bathrooms in the classrooms. So 1st grade classrooms do not have bathrooms in the classroom. Kindergarten classrooms do. 1st grade has, there's four 1st grade classrooms, and there's 2 bathrooms that are literally adjoining next to where the 1st grade classrooms are. So we've actually, when looking at our plan, we've actually even allocated which bathrooms students would use, and we figured, one of the staff member came up with a great idea. Teachers may not love it, but of actually putting the teacher's name and picture so that students only use, we're trying to isolate as much as possible. So a stall actually will be dedicated towards classrooms, because we actually don't dismiss students to the bathroom more than 1 student at a time anyway. Oh, thank you, Mr. Otis, for putting in the Westrock's link. Whoever wanted that, grab it. Thank you. All right, we got the Jefferson.
There's a lot of questions about laptops and Chromebooks. Those that are already assigned to you, they've been assigned to you.
Yep.
So
If you have them, yes, you do bring them in the first day of school. Need for updated physical form. That is only for
kindergarten.
should only be for kindergarten students or students moving into 6th grade. So I didn't cover students. So I probably should have covered students moving into 6th grade. But typically speaking, that is who would need that form. Typically speaking, you don't bring in a physical every year that you're in school. You only bring it in when you come into elementary school and when you go into middle school. Reading interventions will happen. They will be mostly virtual, just because we're trying to maintain that 6 feet of distance. So they will be virtual, kind of the way they did them at home. The beauty of that is it also allows our virtual students to be in based on level, right? They can also join in as well. So we will still continue to have those intervention works, but thank you.
There has been a designated area for the after school program, so the students will be dismissed to that area.
Right, let's see, do I get everything? Touchless Sinks and soaps. I'm sorry.
Pennington. There was 2 or 3 about how did they get the medication to Mrs. Pennington. So I'm assuming Mrs. Pennington will be reaching out within the next week. We report on the 26th, teachers report, I believe.
27.
27th, and then Mrs. Pennington will be here as well. So she'll reach out to you, and then she'll arrange meeting you to sign those release forms.
So touchless sinks were not installed, but there's touchless paper towel dispensers, but not touchless sinks. And the soap dispenser is not touchless either. Oh, sorry. Okay. I get it? Good. Okay. We're over our time. 1 minute. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We miss you.
A lot of questions, but feel free to call us if we can help with any more. Email us, and we'll be sure to answer them for you, or get the answers if we don't know.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.